Welcome back, everyone, to the 21st Century Man podcast.
Hmm.
We are all about diving deep into this amazing book, The 21st Century Man, and today we're tackling a topic that's so fundamental to well-being. It's really the foundation for everything else we're trying to achieve. We're talking about sleep.
Absolutely. And it's no exaggeration to say that sleep is often overlooked when it comes to men's health. We tend to focus on diet, exercise, and maybe stress management, but quality sleep is just as crucial, if not more so, for our physical and mental well-being.
For sure. And this book, it really hits the nail on the head in chapter 29, Optimizing Sleep. It literally calls sleep the engine that drives our lives.
Mhm.
I love that analogy because it really captures how essential sleep is.
It's a great way to put it. When that sleep engine is running smoothly, we feel energized, focused, and ready to take on the day. But when it's sputtering, well, everything feels harder. Our mood, our energy levels, even our decision-making can suffer.
So true. So in this deep dive, we're going to explore the science behind sleep, the common sleep challenges that men face, and most importantly, the practical strategies this chapter offers to help us all get the quality sleep we need to thrive.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, so let's jump right in. This chapter starts by breaking down the physiology of sleep, and it highlights two key processes that govern our sleep-wake cycle. Could you walk us through those two processes?
Sure. The first one is the circadian process, often referred to as process C. You can think of it as our internal 24-hour clock. It's controlled by a tiny region in our brain called the hypothalamus, and it's synchronized by cues from our environment. The most powerful cue by far is the light-dark cycle.
So basically, our bodies are programmed to be awake when it's light and asleep when it's dark. Makes sense.
Exactly. Scientists call these environmental cues Zeitgebers, which is German for time givers. They help keep our internal clock in sync with the natural world. Now, as this circadian process cycles throughout the day, it drives our alertness levels. It builds during the day, peaks, and then starts to decline as evening approaches.
So what's happening in our brains as our alertness starts to dip and we get ready for sleep?
Well, that's where melatonin comes in. It's a hormone produced by a gland in our brain called the pineal gland, and its production is closely tied to the light-dark cycle.
So when it gets dark outside, our melatonin levels start to rise.
Precisely. As darkness sets in, our pineal gland starts pumping out melatonin, signaling to our body that it's time to wind down and prepare for sleep. Melatonin levels peak during the night, keeping us feeling sleepy when our circadian drive for alertness is at its lowest.
Got it. So light signals go, darkness signals slow down, and melatonin is the key that helps us transition into sleep mode.
You've got it. Now, the second process that governs our sleep is called the homeostatic sleep process, or process S, and it's much simpler to grasp. Essentially, it's our body's increasing drive for sleep, which builds the longer we're awake.
Okay, so it's like a sleep pressure that accumulates throughout the day.
That's a great way to think about it. As the day wears on, this sleep pressure keeps building, and it reaches its peak at night when our circadian drive for alertness is naturally low. That's when we're most likely to fall asleep. Then, as we sleep, this sleep pressure gradually dissipates until it's low enough that the rising circadian signal for wakefulness can take over, and we wake up ready to start the cycle again.
It's amazing how intricately these two processes work together to regulate our sleep-wake cycle. But as this chapter points out, sometimes those processes can get out of sync, and that's when we start to experience sleep problems.
Absolutely. If our circadian rhythm is disrupted, perhaps by jet lag or shift work, or if our homeostatic sleep drive isn't properly balanced, maybe due to stress or lifestyle factors, then our sleep can be negatively affected.
It's all about maintaining that delicate balance between those two processes. Now, with that understanding of how sleep works, let's move on to a question that I think a lot of us have. How much sleep do we actually need to function at our best?
That's a great question, and the answer, as you might expect, can vary a bit from person to person. But there are some general guidelines from reputable sources. The American Academy of Sleep Medicine and the Sleep Research Society recommend that most adults between the ages of 18 and 60 should aim for at least 7 hours of sleep per night on a regular basis to promote optimal health. The National Sleep Foundation offers a slightly wider range, suggesting 7 to 9 hours for adults in that same age group.
7 to 9 hours. That sounds like a pretty significant chunk of time. But the chapter also highlights some worrying statistics about how many people aren't actually getting enough sleep.
Unfortunately, you're right. It's a widespread issue. The book points out that nearly 30% of adults in the United States report getting 6 or fewer hours of sleep each night. That's a large portion of the population potentially operating on a sleep deficit.
And it's not just about feeling a bit tired the next day, right? The book goes into detail about the potential consequences of not getting enough sleep, and they're pretty serious.
They are. Sleep deprivation has been linked to a higher risk of accidents, both at work and while driving. It can impair cognitive function, making it harder to concentrate, remember things, and make sound decisions. And it's been associated with an increased risk of chronic health problems like heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, and obesity.
It really underscores how vital sleep is for our overall well-being. It's not just about feeling rested, it's about protecting our physical and mental health in the long run.
Exactly. Sleep is an investment in our health and well-being, and it's one that pays off in countless ways.
Now, this chapter doesn't just tell us how much sleep we need and why it's important. It also offers some practical tools and strategies to help us assess and improve our sleep habits. And one of the first tools it recommends is surprisingly simple: keeping a sleep diary.
It might seem low-tech in today's world of gadgets and apps, but a sleep diary can be incredibly insightful. It's a way to track your sleep patterns over time and start to notice any trends or potential areas for improvement.
So, what exactly do we need to track in this sleep diary?
The book recommends noting down specific details for each day, ideally for a week or two, to get a good overview. This includes things like the time you get into bed, the approximate time you fall asleep, any awakenings during the night, and how long it takes you to fall back asleep, your final wake-up time in the morning, and when you actually get out of bed.
So, we're looking at the timing of our sleep, but it's not just about the hours we spend in bed.
Right. The book also suggests tracking other factors that can influence sleep, such as your intake of caffeine, alcohol, and any medications you're taking, as these can all impact your sleep quality.
It's all about gathering data to get a clear picture of our sleep habits. So once we've diligently filled out our sleep diary for a week or two, what kind of insights can we gain from it?
A well-kept sleep diary can reveal some really valuable information. First, you can calculate your average total sleep time, both on weekdays and weekends, which might highlight any inconsistencies in your sleep schedule. You can also determine your sleep latency, which is the time it takes you to fall asleep after you turn off the lights. A healthy sleep latency is usually between 15 and 20 minutes, so if you're consistently taking much longer than that to fall asleep, it could be a sign of an underlying issue. And finally, you can calculate your sleep efficiency, which is essentially the percentage of time you spend in bed actually sleeping. Aiming for a sleep efficiency of 85% or higher is generally recommended.
So the sleep diary helps us go beyond just how many hours we sleep and look at the quality and consistency of our sleep as well. Now, the chapter also discusses the growing popularity of consumer sleep tracking devices, like those wearables we see everywhere these days. Can you talk a bit about how those devices work and what their limitations are?
Yeah, there's a huge market for sleep trackers right now, and they range from wrist-worn devices like Fitbits and Apple Watches to bedside monitors and even mats you put under your mattress. They use various sensors and algorithms to estimate sleep duration and sometimes even sleep stages.
So they can be helpful for getting a general sense of our sleep patterns. But the chapter makes a really important point about their accuracy, doesn't it?
It does. It's crucial to remember that most of these consumer-grade sleep trackers are not FDA-approved medical devices. And while the technology is advancing, there's still limited scientific evidence to fully validate their accuracy compared to the gold standard of a sleep study conducted in a lab setting.
So we shouldn't necessarily take the data they provide as gospel truth.
Right. Think of them more as tools for increasing your self-awareness of your sleep habits. They can help you spot trends and potential disruptions in your sleep, which can then prompt you to make changes or seek professional guidance if needed. But they're not a substitute for a proper medical evaluation.
That makes sense. Now let's get to the really actionable part of this chapter, the strategies for improving our sleep. And this is where the concept of good sleep hygiene comes in. Can you break down what that means and why it's so important?
Sleep hygiene is essentially a set of behavioral and environmental practices that promote healthy sleep. They might seem like simple tweaks, but they can make a world of difference in the quality of your sleep. And the foundation of good sleep hygiene is maintaining a consistent sleep schedule. Going to bed and waking up around the same time every day, even on weekends, helps regulate your body's natural sleep-wake cycle, making it much easier to fall asleep and wake up feeling refreshed.
I think that's something a lot of people struggle with, especially on weekends when they want to sleep in. But consistency is key, it seems.
It really is. Your body thrives on predictability, and that includes your sleep-wake cycle. The next crucial aspect of sleep hygiene is taking the time to consciously relax and wind down before bed.
So what kind of activities would you recommend for this wind-down period?
The book strongly recommends avoiding electronic devices like smartphones, tablets, and computers for at least 30 minutes before bed. And there's a good reason for that. The blue light emitted from these screens can suppress the production of melatonin, which, as we talked about earlier, is crucial for sleep.
It tricks our brains into thinking it's still daytime.
Exactly. It's like telling your body to wake up when you're trying to wind down. So put away those devices and opt for more relaxing activities, like reading a physical book with dim lighting, taking a warm bath, listening to calming music, or practicing gentle stretching. These types of activities signal to your body that it's time to start shifting into sleep mode.
I know I'm definitely guilty of scrolling through my phone right before bed, but I'm going to try to make a conscious effort to break that habit. And the chapter also stresses the importance of creating a conducive sleep environment.
Absolutely. Your bedroom should be your sanctuary for sleep. Invest in a comfortable mattress and pillows that provide good support and keep your bedroom cool, dark, and quiet. Even small amounts of light and noise can disrupt sleep, so consider using blackout curtains, earplugs, or a white noise machine to minimize distractions.
And what about exercise? We often hear that it's good for sleep, but is there an optimal time to exercise to maximize its sleep-promoting benefits?
Regular physical activity can definitely enhance sleep quality. It can help you fall asleep faster, sleep more soundly, and wake up feeling more rested. But it's generally best to avoid strenuous workouts too close to bedtime. Give your body at least a few hours to wind down before you hit the hay.
Okay, so exercise early in the day, or at least a few hours before bed. Now, what about those nights when, despite our best efforts to practice good sleep hygiene, we still find ourselves tossing and turning, unable to fall asleep? The chapter provides some helpful tips for those frustrating situations.
If you're struggling to fall asleep after about 20 minutes, the book suggests getting out of bed and going to another room, preferably one that's dimly lit. Engage in a relaxing activity, like reading or listening to calming music, until you feel sleepy again. The goal is to avoid associating your bed with wakefulness.
So don't just lie there getting more and more frustrated.
Exactly. Sometimes the best thing you can do is break the cycle and try again later. And when it comes to sleep, it's also essential to be mindful of your consumption of caffeine, nicotine, and alcohol.
Those are substances that can definitely interfere with a good night's sleep. Can you break down how each one affects our sleep?
Sure, caffeine is a stimulant, so it can keep you awake and alert for several hours after you consume it. The book recommends avoiding caffeine for at least 8 to 10 hours before bed to allow your body sufficient time to metabolize it. Nicotine, found in tobacco products, is another stimulant that can disrupt sleep. It can increase nighttime awakenings and make it harder to fall asleep. And while alcohol might initially make you feel drowsy and help you fall asleep faster, it can actually fragment your sleep later in the night, leading to more restless sleep and earlier awakenings. So moderation is key, especially in the evening hours.
It's all about making choices that support rather than sabotage our sleep. Now, this chapter goes on to delve into the realm of sleep disorders, providing a comprehensive overview of the different types of sleep problems that people can experience. It's based on the International Classification of Sleep Disorders, or ICSD, which is the standard diagnostic manual used by sleep professionals. It sounds like a pretty complex system.
It is a complex system, as you might imagine, with around 60 specific sleep disorder diagnoses. But the book helpfully breaks down the major categories of sleep disorders, which include insomnia, sleep-related breathing disorders, circadian rhythm sleep-wake disorders, sleep-related movement disorders, parasomnias, and central disorders of hypersomnolence.
So there's a wide range of sleep disorders that can affect people. And the book wisely points out that if you suspect you might have a sleep disorder, it's essential to consult a board-certified sleep physician for proper diagnosis and treatment.
Absolutely. A sleep specialist can conduct a thorough evaluation, including a sleep study if necessary, to determine the underlying cause of your sleep problems and recommend the most appropriate treatment.
The book provides a helpful resource, the website www.sleepeducation.org, where you can find accredited sleep centers and sleep physicians in your area. Now, this chapter then zooms in on a few specific sleep disorders that are particularly common among men, starting with obstructive sleep apnea, or OSA. It sounds like a pretty serious condition.
It is. OSA is the most common type of sleep-related breathing disorder, and it occurs when the upper airway becomes narrowed or completely blocked during sleep, despite the person's continued efforts to breathe. This can lead to repeated pauses in breathing, known as apneas, or shallow breathing, known as hypopneas, throughout the night.
And this can have significant consequences for our health, right?
Absolutely. When those apneas or hypopneas occur, our blood oxygen levels drop and our sleep becomes fragmented. Over time, this can contribute to a whole host of health problems, including high blood pressure, heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, and even an increased risk of accidents due to daytime sleepiness.
Wow, those are some serious risks. How is OSA typically diagnosed?
The gold standard for diagnosing OSA is a sleep study called a polysomnogram. This involves spending the night in a sleep lab where sensors monitor your brain waves, breathing patterns, heart rate, and other physiological measures while you sleep. The severity of OSA is measured using the apnea-hypopnea index, or AHI.
And what's considered a normal AHI versus an AHI that indicates OSA?
A normal AHI is typically less than 5 events per hour of sleep. An AHI of 5 or more events per hour generally indicates mild OSA. 15 to 30 events per hour is considered moderate OSA, and more than 30 events per hour is classified as severe OSA.
And the chapter highlights that this condition is particularly prevalent among men, right?
Yes, it is. The book references a study published in 2013 that estimated that at least 17% of women and up to 34% of men in the U.S. have obstructive sleep apnea. That's a significant portion of the male population.
It's a pretty alarming statistic.
Hmm.
What are some signs that someone might have OSA?
One of the most common signs is loud, habitual snoring, especially snoring that's punctuated by gasps or choking sounds. Other red flags include excessive daytime sleepiness, waking up feeling unrefreshed even after a full night's sleep, morning headaches, difficulty concentrating, and irritability.
So if someone suspects they might have OSA, what's the first step they should take?
The book recommends consulting with your primary care physician or an otolaryngologist, also known as an ENT doctor, who specializes in conditions of the ear, nose, and throat, including the upper airway. They can assess your symptoms and recommend further evaluation, which often involves a sleep study to confirm the diagnosis.
And the chapter provides a helpful resource, the website www.entnet.org, where you can find a local ENT physician. Now, another sleep disorder that this chapter discusses is shift work disorder, which is a condition that affects people who work non-traditional hours, such as night shifts or rotating shifts.
Shift work disorder is essentially a circadian rhythm sleep-wake disorder. When our work schedules conflict with our natural sleep-wake patterns, it can throw our internal clocks out of whack, making it difficult to get enough quality sleep and leading to excessive daytime sleepiness.
And the book points out that this can have far-reaching consequences for our health, right?
It can. Shift work has been linked to an increased risk of various health problems, including obesity, cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and even certain types of cancer.
So it's not just about feeling tired. It's a serious health concern. What can people do to manage or mitigate the effects of shift work disorder?
There are several strategies that can help. First and foremost, it's crucial to prioritize good sleep hygiene practices, even when your sleep schedule is unconventional. Sticking to a consistent sleep-wake routine as much as possible, even on days off, can help regulate your circadian rhythm. Creating a conducive sleep environment during the day with blackout curtains, earplugs, and a cool, quiet room can also make a big difference.
And what about staying alert during those night shifts?
The chapter suggests several approaches. Strategic napping, both before and during the shift, if possible, can be helpful. Caffeine, consumed in moderation, can also provide a temporary boost in alertness. And for those who struggle with excessive sleepiness despite these measures, there are prescription medications that can promote wakefulness, but these should always be used under the supervision of a healthcare professional.
And finally, this chapter addresses insomnia, which is a condition that many of us have probably experienced at some point in our lives. Can you explain what insomnia is and what factors can contribute to it?
Insomnia is essentially a difficulty falling asleep, staying asleep, or both, despite having adequate time and opportunity for sleep. And this sleep disturbance leads to daytime consequences, such as fatigue, difficulty concentrating, mood changes, and impaired performance.
So it's not just about having a bad night's sleep every now and then. It's a persistent problem that interferes with daily life.
Exactly. And the causes of insomnia can vary widely. It can be triggered by stress, anxiety, depression, certain medical conditions, medications, poor sleep habits, or a combination of these factors.
What's the best course of action if someone is struggling with insomnia?
The chapter recommends starting with a visit to your primary care physician to rule out any underlying medical conditions or medication side effects that could be contributing to the insomnia. If those are ruled out, then cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, or CBTI, is often the first-line treatment.
And what does CBTI involve?
It's a type of therapy that helps you identify and change negative thoughts and behaviors that are contributing to your sleep problems. It teaches you techniques for relaxation, stress management, and improving your sleep habits. And if CBTI alone isn't sufficient, there are also medications that can help promote sleep, but those are typically used as a short-term solution and should always be prescribed and monitored by a healthcare professional.
So there are effective treatments available for insomnia, and seeking professional help is often the best way to address this common sleep disorder. This chapter truly provides a wealth of information about sleep, sleep disorders, and strategies for improving our sleep quality. It's amazing how much valuable guidance is packed into these pages.
It really is a testament to the book's commitment to providing men with the knowledge and tools they need to optimize their health and well-being. It recognizes that sleep is not a luxury, it's a fundamental pillar of our physical and mental health, and it deserves our attention and care.
Absolutely. We wholeheartedly encourage you, our listeners, to read the entirety of Chapter 29 in The 21st Century Man and to explore the other chapters in this insightful book. There's so much valuable information here that can empower you to take control of your health and live your best life. And remember, prioritizing sleep isn't selfish. It's an act of self-care that benefits not only you, but also everyone around you.
Well said. And as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a challenge. What's one small, manageable change you can make to your sleep habits tonight? Maybe it's setting a consistent bedtime, powering down those screens an hour before bed, or creating a more relaxing bedtime routine. Every little step counts, and the cumulative effects can be truly transformative.
Thank you for joining us for this exploration of Chapter 29, Optimizing Sleep from the 21st Century Man. We hope you found it informative and empowering. Join us next time on the 21st Century Man podcast as we delve into Chapter 30, Coping with Jet Lag. Until then, sleep well.
Sleep well, everyone.